Dave Cathey, the Food Dude, and it's the Christmas season, the holiday season here in Oklahoma. We have lots of great traditions here, but there's none quite like Aunt Bill's brown candy. So I've brought in some of my foodie friends to celebrate Aunt Bill's brown candy, and they did us the service of making some. So ladies, why don't you introduce yourselves? Start down there with Nicole.
I'm Nicole Moisant.
I'm Vivians Background.
And I am Stephanie Bice.
These are my great foodie friends. Now, we got together a couple of weekends ago. I didn't do any work at all, which I'm really good at. And you guys busted it pretty good to produce this wonderful Aunt Bill's brown candy. Now, I know that Aunt Susan, she was kind of the first food editor of the Oklahoman. She wrote a column back sometime in the 20s. I don't know exactly when, and she gave all kinds of great advice. And she gradually gravitated towards food. And the one thing that has really stuck with us through the years from Aunt Susan was this Aunt Bill's brown candy, which she claimed was made by this great friend whom she called Aunt Bill. Not really her aunt, I believe, was the deal, but just a great lady who made great candy. So you guys are Oklahomans, and you've come by Aunt Bill's in a little different ways. So Nicole, you had sort of the deepest background. So tell us a little bit about your Aunt Bill's place in your life.
I got to know Aunt Bill's from my great-grandmother, Nellie, and my granddaddy Smokey. And they started out in Oklahoma, ended up moving to Western Texas, but every Christmas they would bring us T-shirt boxes full of Aunt Bill's candy. And so they would unload the Lincoln, which I think the last one was a mauve purple Lincoln, and everyone would get a box of candy, and that's how you knew that it was kind of Christmas time, and it really signified the beginning of Christmas. And so they'd give you this shirt box, and the adults would go and they'd cut it up into little pieces, and you would ask them to make a brownie-sized portion, and they'd say, no, you don't need it. And then you would just eat this candy, and it was the most amazing candy that we really ever had. It was fudgy and caramely, and it was awesome, and we would just go eat piece by piece throughout the day. My dad tells a story that when he first spent Christmas with my mom's side of the family, they had a tray of Aunt Bill's candy out, and so every time he went into the room, he would pick up a piece and eat it and say, oh, that was really great candy. And by the end of the week, he claims that he had gained 10 pounds. And
I think that's probably true.
Based on the ingredients. I understand it now. But it was just always one of those things that my great-grandparents made it. My grandparents stepped away from it and said, it's too hard. I can tell you all the horror stories of making it. We don't want to make it. But the great-grandparents made it up until I believe she was 85.
Wow.
So
you guys, a few years back, you and Vivian,
Yes.
and also Katie Johnson, right?
Yes.
Vivian, tell us a little bit about that, about you guys taking up the mantle.
I got a call one day a few years ago from Nicole because the recipe had come up in a magazine. I think Molly Weisenberg
that's
did
right.
it. And she's like, I have this recipe. You know, my grandmother used to make it and we should do it. And we got together one year and did it just on our own. And it was a lot of work. And then the next year, Katie Johnston decided to join us. And we've made it. We liked the extra help.
Yeah.
We liked having the extra help in the kitchen to stir, and having somebody else to pour the ingredients. It really was nice.
Well, and I was lucky enough to sit in with you guys recently at Stephanie's house, who was kind enough to host. And the sense of camaraderie was great, a lot of conversation and whatnot. Stephanie, of course, just recently added to the state Senate.
I did.
And of course, realizing that you can't really be in the Oklahoma legislature if you've never had Aunt Bill's brown candy, obviously.
That is true. And I had not had Aunt Bill's brown candy until we decided to get together and make it. This is my first experience. I'd actually never heard of it. So it was really interesting to hear the different stories from you and from Nicole about the origins of the candy and the different ways that it could be made. And we decided to test out one of the
old school method.
The original version, as Vivian said, lots of stirring, lots of really rich ingredients. This is not for the dieting crowd.
Yeah, for the dieting crowd. I believe that was Nicole's line on Sunday. This is not dieting candy.
It is not.
So, what's in this stuff? I mean, I know you. Tell me all about it. I mean, what makes this so special?
Good gosh. I think the best part about the recipe is it says you start out with 6 pounds of pecan nuts. And so you have to go figure out where you're going to get 6 pounds of pecan nuts. We actually got ours from Luther, and they were awesome.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's...
Yeah, what was that name of that? Do you remember? No?
I do not remember
We'll
off
figure
the
it out.
top of my head, but it's the pecan farm in Luther. You go
Yeah.
straight on 66, and it's
There
just,
it is.
It's there with their massive amounts of pecan trees. But it's just the ingredients are everything that you could ever want in a candy. It's sugar and cream and pecans and just
Butter.
Lots and lots of butter.
Butter. You can't miss the
Yes.
butter.
And you've got 2 processes kind of going. You've got to stir the sugar half an hour. Is that right?
At least.
Yeah, yeah, because I believe the first batch was an hour-long process.
Yes.
For whatever reason.
Just for stirring.
Lots of fact. That's the other thing about this candy. Well, in any candy, you have to worry about the weather and the type of pot that you're using,
the
and
pot makes a
every
difference.
little detail counts. But you guys did a great job here. I can attest. Tried it myself, but. I mean, the thing that I really love about Aunt Bill's, it is very Oklahoma. You know, this is it really is something. Get on your Google, and you'll find that it all comes back to Oklahoma. This is the thing that, I mean, Oklahoma. We're sort of a new state, and it's hard to have culinary traditions when you're not that old in comparison to everybody else. But this is, and it's something. 2 things I love. It's great. It's so good. It's really, really good. There's not any chocolate in it, and it's somehow delicious. And I do like the fact that my favorite part of the process was basically watching you guys and being a part of that. And this is something in the holidays that we can do as a family or with friends. You can put the phone down, put the iPad down for a few hours and talk about these things. I really enjoyed listening to you guys.
I think that it does build sort of a sense of camaraderie, and Nicole mentioned it signifies Christmas. Oftentimes we get together during the holidays to make, whether it's cookies or dinners. This is another way to get together with the family and make an amazing dessert, albeit a little rich and not low-cal, but you get that sense of family when you make it, and I think we all did it when we were together.
Well, next year I'm game if you guys are. That's the thing. This is a hard candy to make, and you guys haven't made it every year, right?
We maybe skipped 1.
We've
Yeah.
skipped
or
1
2.
year.
Yeah, because you got to carve out some time to do this.
Yes.
Which is why I have a special guest here with us today, because there's folks out there that are going to say, "Sounds great, but I don't want to do that." So I've got with us today Brian Jackson from the Woody Candy Company, and he's going to show us his version of Aunt Bill's brown candy. Welcome, Brian.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
You're in your element, right?
I see Aunt Bill's.
Well, you've been seeing Aunt Bill's for a long time, more so lately than ever.
Exactly.
So tell us a little bit about what you got going on.
Okay. February 1st of this year, my parents and I purchased Woody Candy Company, it's been an Oklahoma institution since 1927, and we're very excited about it. And one of the staple products that we make is Aunt Bill's brown candy. And the way my family got introduced to it, originally back in the 70s, my great-grandparents would have a dinner party with some of their friends and make Aunt Bill's, similarly to what you guys were talking about just a few minutes ago. And they passed on in the late 70s, and my parents thought, well, it can't be that difficult to make this stuff. Let's give it a shot. And it took one try, and they're like, no, this is not a great idea. I understand why there was a dinner party now. And about that time, they also figured out that Woody Candy Company has been making Aunt Bill's for who knows how long. And so before I was born, my parents started buying Aunt Bill's from the Woody Candy Company. And so it's been around our family and our dinner table around the holiday time for longer than I've been around.
Well, and so you tried one test batch. So the family tried one test batch, and it was too difficult. But now you make it pretty much every day this time of year.
I wouldn't say every day because it's weather dependent. I mean,
Well, yeah, right,
today
right.
is
Yeah,
today is a day that we were going to make some, but got to the kitchen this morning and just totally called off the Aunt Bill's production.
Yeah, the humidity. So
Exactly.
talk about that. What does the humidity do exactly?
Oh, just what does it not do? Anybody that spends a lot of time in the kitchen will tell you that the humidity is going to dramatically affect how your ingredients mix together and what your end product is going to
Somehow the
like.
water molecules affect the chemistry, and then you just end up with who knows what.
Right.
Yeah.
And nobody wants just a big blob of goo. So it might be
Well, I'm
tasty.
sure there's some of you out there.
Right. It might be tasty, but no, it's not what we're shooting for.
That's right. Woody
So,
Candy Company, there's a certain amount of beautiful candies you guys are doing over there. It was
Appreciate it.
really awesome. So in the process of making this, there were some questions that arose. We talked about the amount of pecans. Wow, there's so many pecans in this. Can you address that a little bit?
Well, our philosophy over at when we're making especially Aunt Bill's brown candy is that you can't have enough pecans in the candy, and the same philosophy goes to our peanut brittle and other candies as well. Is if there's a nut in the candy, we don't want you to have any bite that doesn't have a nut in it.
Right.
Plain and simple.
Yeah, because don't you think, I mean, we were talking about this, the candy would be so rich if you didn't have that buffer, that nice sort of neutral buffer in there with some good texture, because it is a very rich candy.
It is.
I think I actually, because I had never had it before, I asked, not being a huge nut lover, can you make it without? And after making it and trying it, you realize that no way, you really couldn't.
Yeah.
You have to have that, the pecans to sort of cut the sweetness and
Yeah.
the richness of the candy itself.
It gives it a great texture too, I think. Just like-
Well, and you ladies will be very happy to know that the process that you were using was virtually the same process that they use at Woody Candy Company. How many folks do you have working on it at a time?
4 or 5.
Yeah, and like when I was there, you guys, it was just two, one over one pot and one on another. And then, they were, the video that we shot is going to look very similar. The one person's pouring what's in the, let's talk about what's in the two pots. What do we have in the two pots? We got the sugar in one, and what all's in the other?
A lot more sugar.
Butter, this one just has butter.
Right.
Cream. There was one that was sugar and cream.
Sugar and cream.
And then the other one was the sugar mixture that takes, it seems like
Forever to brown.
forever to brown. And just looking at those two different pots, you're thinking not a lot of differentiation here in flavor, but because you're caramelizing that sugar slowly, it really brings out a completely different taste.
Yeah, two different processes with similar products, which is interesting. And then you bring them all together, and then you have, how long does it take to set?
Again, weather dependent.
Right.
It's we let ours set for sometimes 20 minutes, sometimes up to 40
Depending on
minutes
the
before
situation, yeah.
we take it from the big copper kettle that you saw the other day to individual serving sizes.
Yeah. So you chemistry students, this is going to be a great deal for you. You're going to really excel at this. Well, Brian, we appreciate you coming out. Do you guys have any other questions for him?
Do you add any other ingredients to your Aunt Bill's?
You're asking for the secret sauce.
Well, she's in politics. What do you want?
I got to ask the tough questions.
If that's fair, I'm going to take the 5th.
Which
I'll
is his
represent
right.
you on that. I will represent you on that.
That's right. She's
As
got
the
a
attorney in the
lawyer.
group.
There you
We're
go.
all set. We're all set. Well, Brian, thanks. Ladies, thanks. I think it's time that we stop talking and we sample some of this stuff. What do you think?
Yes, please.
All right, let's do it. All right. And happy holidays to everybody out there. And I hope that you either make some Aunt Bill's or head over to Woody Candy and get some from there. You won't regret it.